We'll start the show in about 3 minutes. We're going to share it out to our followers and everywhere, and we'll be right back. There we go. Countdown. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Well, we're back. We weren't around for last Tuesday because of Halloween. David did do a little show and post up on Fourth and Goal prior this week, towards the weekend. It's good to be back. I miss talking football with you guys.
Howdy, howdy, everyone. Welcome to the big Tuesday night spectacular. And we'll begin our week, news of the week with news that stunned me today. And that is Carson Wentz is signing with the Los Angeles Rams. And I tell you, this to me means that Matt Stafford's probably going to end up going on IR because of the thumb injury. Obviously, they did not play well this last week. Stetson Bennett is out of the picture right now. I don't know what's going on with him, but he was dismissed from the team earlier in the year. And so, in comes Carson Wentz. They're on a bye this week. So they've got 2 full weeks basically to get him ready to come in. And, we know how Sean McVay is with quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield only had like a day and a half, and he won a game last year for the Rams. So I know that Carson's been sitting on the sidelines. He's been at home sitting on the couch, if you will. But I think this could be pretty good news for the Rams, Chris. What do you think?
I mean, it depends what Carson Wentz really shows up. We'll see what he has left. This might be the healthiest Carson Wentz though that we've seen, because every year it seems like he's played in the league on a team as a starter or as the backup and actually got playing time. It seems like he's another one of those guys that just always hurt. There's always something wrong. So this is probably his last chance, I would say, to prove that he has some football left in him. So,
well, they had to get him for a deal because we know that their cap situation is poor. And obviously I don't think he would be coming in, or that they would be signing him, if Matthew Stafford was going to be healthy. They want to stay in the thick of the playoff race, and they're really not that far out of it. And we'll look at the standings here shortly after we do a quick weekend review from week number 9. But I want to do a few things a little different this week. And I want to start out by saying the Kansas City Chiefs, you have to pick, other than your favorite team, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl as of right now, halfway through the year?
Okay. I can go right now. Now, even though Dave wants to tell me not to pick the Lions, guess what? I wasn't going to pick the Lions even if I was allowed to. Because what did I say since the beginning of the time? This is the Lions' year to win the division, make a playoff run. I don't expect us to actually make it to the Super Bowl this year. I'm being realistic. We're a young team. Do I think we have a possibility? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think, honestly, the team in the NFC side who that got probably the best chance to go to the Super Bowl right now is the Eagles. Because I know for my Lions to make the Super Bowl, we're going to have to probably, most likely, play the Eagles.
Okay, who are they going to play in the Super Bowl, and who wins?
On the AFC side, this is hard. I think it could be Cincinnati, because they've been playing lights out. They're like a whole different team right now. I still think KC could do it though. But if I had to pick, who are the top teams again on the AFC side? It's just been a minute since I actually looked at it.
Well, Ron likes Philly against the Kansas City Chiefs, but he thinks Baltimore is looking better and better with each week.
I'm going to say.
So for me, I'm going to go off the board here a little bit. And this kind of goes about, you have these teams that have played each other, and we've seen how close the games are. Okay. We've seen how close that they are. And, and so there's some teams that are kind of falling apart right now. I need my drink, and I would like Frank's Red Hot. Anyway, my little buddy's delivering dinner. I tell you, in the AFC, I have reasons to not root for the Baltimore Ravens, but I think that they are, a very dangerous team right now. I can't say Kansas City, and I'm not sure that I would if I could, because, you're looking at a team that, while they have a great defense this year, and yes, they have probably the best coach and the best quarterback, their weapons are suspect. Now, if they can get on a roll, it'll be different. If they can start to, do something, with their receivers, I don't really have a problem with the running game. They've never been a heavy run, offense anyway, since Andy Reid has been there. But, I'm going to have to say right now, Baltimore, and, I'll probably get laughed at for this, but I think that it was very close this last Sunday. I'm going to take Dallas. And I think the reason why I'm taking Dallas is because they had Philly. They had the lead at the half. Okay. Philadelphia tried to give them the game at the end. And if it hadn't been for a penalty, and if it hadn't been for, you got a penalty on one deal and lack of execution on another, they would have, love you, thank you. They would have beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia. And Philly has a brutal schedule coming up. They've got to play the 49ers, even though the Niners have been down lately, but they're coming off a bye soon. Okay. They got to play the Chiefs. And it looks to me like Dallas has kind of an easier road. That one in the loss column for Philadelphia is not going to stay there. Okay. They're going to lose one, maybe two more games. And it's going to open the door when Philly goes to Dallas. Dallas is going to win that game. I just know it. And then, you're right. Baltimore, Cincinnati's really coming on strong. And, I would rather see Cincinnati than Baltimore for personal reasons. But Baltimore right now is the team that's hitting on all cylinders. They played against two NFC opponents in the last 3 weeks, and they lit up the Detroit Lions. They lit up the Seattle Seahawks. And both those teams are leading their divisions in the NFC. But both games were in Baltimore.
I'm not going to lie. Baltimore, you're not lying on Baltimore. Baltimore could be that team. Only why I'm not picking them is, and this is why I don't think I'm going to put them. I might put them back up there closer to playoff time. And the only why I say that is Lamar Jackson has to show me he can make it to the playoffs. If he can make it to the playoffs, then
he can get to the playoffs. It's that they don't perform when they get there. Okay, they lost on the road to Buffalo. They've lost at home to the Tennessee Titans. They get to the playoffs, and I think they've won one playoff game since Lamar Jackson has been there. Okay.
Oh yeah, because the last 2 years.
But now they've got a new offensive coordinator. They've got all these weapons, that they brought in. Odell Beckham Jr. Okay. They've got, Zay Flowers, who they drafted this year. The running game, yes, I know they lost Dobbins. Okay. But Gus Edwards is doing well. Justice Hill's doing well, filling in the running game. They brought in some other players, to make sure they got plenty of running backs.
That Mitchell
but Lamar Jackson is still the weapon. He still takes off and runs.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The defense ain't too shabby.
No, that's what I'm saying. But here's the thing. The last 2 years, when playoffs came around, Lamar Jackson was on the bench.
Yeah, hurt. Yeah.
That's what I'm meaning. I got before I can say Baltimore is going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, I got to see Lamar Jackson 80% healthy, able to run the ball and play his game before I can give Baltimore that. And I don't want to take it away from him. It's just I'm not 100% sure Jackson's going to stay healthy through the whole season. Also, if you're
Ron's agreeing with you. It's all about Lamar staying healthy. Can he be healthy come playoff time? And Ron almost said Dallas also.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. Dallas has the players. They have the team to be able to do it. But the problem is, it seems like every time they make it to the playoffs, Prescott just has
run into the 49ers.
The
problem is they run into the 49ers, and they're not a good matchup against the 49ers.
Yeah. It's either that
if they
or
play Philadelphia, that's a good matchup for them because they match up well with that team,
being
they know
their
their division. But they're just for some reason they play the 49ers, and it is not a good matchup for them, especially if they have to play in San Francisco, which right now I'm not sure that would be the case because they've lost too many games, even though they have the head-to-head between the two of them. It just comes down to who's going to have the better record at the end of the season. If they're tied, unless one of them is the division champion, which I don't think either one of them at this point has the lead in their division. Philly leads in the East, the Seahawks lead in the West. So they're both wild card teams.
All right. Before we get down to this rundown real quick, I want to bring up a little thing against some Lion fans, real short and sweet. So trade deadline was Halloween weekend, which again I really apologize because I was really looking forward to the show until I realized Halloween actually fell on a Tuesday. But so everybody here almost lost their shit because we traded for Peoples Jones from Cleveland.
I think that's going to be a good move for you guys.
Oh, it's going to be a huge move, I think. But everybody was mad that we didn't go get no defensive help. I listened all week of fucking crying, saying there's no chance at a Super Bowl championship because we didn't trade for a defensive player. And I said from the beginning to a lot of people I was talking to on statuses this week, I said, man, you got to sit back and trust the coaches and the GM. They know more than us, and there's something. So if you're one of them Lions fans watching this right now that was pissed that we didn't get defensive help on Tuesday, guess how much people were at practice for the Detroit Lions today? 53 motherfuckers were on that field today. Everybody who's hurt was practicing today. Montgomery will be back Sunday. Frank Reginald will be back Sunday. Joe Jackson will be back Sunday. We're getting all of our players that are active, that were hurt and missing a couple games on defense and offense back this Sunday. So that tells me our coaches and GM were very smart. Why do you got to trade for somebody if you're getting your players back this week? I think our defensive depth is really good, by the way. I mean, Hutchinson on Monday night did not have one sack. He had a couple rushes, a couple QB pressures, and that was about it. But our defense still got 6 sacks. So I don't see the issue with our defense because that's telling me we don't have to rely on our star defense end to get all of our sacks. So I think people need to relax. We're 6-2 for a reason. And let's get this roll going in LA this week. So that's all I wanted to bring. Calm down, people. We're ready to roll.
All right, so we're going to take a look now at the games from this last week. I, just want to do something a little bit different here. I don't want to beat a dead horse by reviewing every game like we've been doing. Everybody knows what happened this last week. Just things that stood out. Things that stood out to us. I thought in the Thursday night game that Will Levis played really well considering he was going against that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It was his first game starting on the road for Tennessee, and they were hanging in there. And I know that the Steelers offense is not, all it's cracked up to be, but their defense is still their defense. And I thought that he played well. He's been named the starter for the duration going forward there in Tennessee. And so that was something that I, liked in that game. For the Dolphins-Chiefs game, the defense came to play. I was glad that they stripped Tyreek Hill personally because I'm tired of him running his mouth. Yes, he was a great player for the Chiefs, but, he acts like he's God's gift to football. And, he's bad-mouthed or insinuated to bad-mouth, Patrick Mahomes' accuracy, and they didn't want to pay him what he was worth, and he was going to give him the work. Well, you give him the ball. Thanks, because that was the difference in the game. And the best part, which all the Chiefs fans are saying, is the draft pick that we got from Miami, for Tyreek Hill, was Trent McDuffie, the guy that stripped the ball and tackled him. So I loved that. Couldn't believe Josh Dobbs had to play in the Minnesota Viking game. You
That
know,
was crazy.
loved that he came in and made plays. Go ahead, Chris.
I loved. I want to just give him a huge shout out. Dobbs, Tennessee is kind of a college I've always paid attention. My grandfather's college. He's from Tennessee. I lived down there. I lived down there 3.5 years. Graduated school, moved back to Michigan. So I've always followed that school. Dobbs came from the UT, so I've always followed him from Pittsburgh to his journey. I followed him as soon as he went to Arizona this year. I was happy to see him balling out. And I couldn't believe how good he came in and played in that game. He said at the end of the game, he didn't even know some of his teammates' full names. And to me, that's just bizarre that you come in and you play that good. You don't even know people's names. You're just slinging the rock and go win a football game. Congrats to that kid. I hope he finds a starting job after this.
Yeah, you move on here, to New Orleans. New Orleans, I really thought they had gotten it together a couple of weeks ago, but they struggled with Chicago. They still won the game, but, and sometimes you have rough outings against teams that aren't that good. But I still like New Orleans from the beginning of the season to win that division. I think that if they just continue to improve as they go forward, they're not going to have any problems. We talked about the Rams, bringing in, Carson Wentz. They didn't have any offense because they didn't really have a quarterback. And so Green Bay won that game easily by basically running the ball and trying not to turn it over. Washington showed that they're still a decent team. New England is not a good team, and when Washington plays against teams that are bad, they tend to win.
Yeah.
They've stood up and played hard twice against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a good matchup for the Commanders. When they play them, it's kind of like we talked about before. When Dallas plays the 49ers, it's a bad matchup for Dallas. But when they play the Eagles, they play well. Washington, they played Buffalo and got destroyed. They played Philadelphia, and they got a chance to win both of them games that they played them this year.
I think they helped. I hate to say this, but I think they're helping. They just put another nail in Belichick's coffin.
Well, what I found interesting about the whole deal is they gave away 2 of their first-round draft picks for picks during the trade deadline. And then their defense played great against New England. Now, I know New England doesn't have a great offense, but they got a lot of pass rush. They were able to, get to Mac Jones, and they played well. And I think that by still having a good defensive front like they do, and trading away players that was going to cost them big money in free agency, like Montez Sweat and Chase Young, and getting those draft picks, they're setting themselves up real well for the future going forward here.
Exactly. And just a real quick, that's why everybody they wanted Chase Young on Tuesday. That's what a lot of Lions fans, a lot of people wanted. I'm okay with not doing it because the only person that should probably get paid out of the 2 that got traded out of Washington is Sweat. Chase Young, he's a good player. I'm not taking it away from him, but he's spent more time on injury reserve and the bench than he has on the field. So I'm not okay with trading for a guy that's going to want big money, but hasn't really done the work to earn that big money.
Right.
So that's my opinion. And I think Washington was very smart because you got Sweat older in age. You got Chase Young, like I just said, spent more time hurt than on the field. So get rid of the 2 pieces that you're not going to keep and get out of Dodge.
Seattle goes to Baltimore and gets beat down basically because of turnovers and penalties. It's a West Coast team playing in the early time slot on the East Coast. They had pretty much everything going against them in this particular situation, but I got to give Baltimore credit. They held them to only 3 points. They played well offensively. There isn't much else to say about that. What we can say is Houston continues their surprising season. I loved CJ Stroud. I know you didn't like him coming out. We talked about it. We debated whether he should be the number one pick in the draft coming out this last year. Man, did Carolina make a mistake, because CJ Stroud is the truth. And I think that it's great that they downplayed, whatever it was that they did to get him to slide to number 2, because he fits perfectly with this team. I think Houston can make the playoffs, Chris. I really do.
They got a strong chance, Dave. Hey, I'm not lying. If teams above them start losing and they keep winning, they're going to be that wild card team right on the bubble. And if the right things work out the right way, they could easily take it. You're 100% right. I gave everybody shit on CJ Stroud. I wasn't high on him. Not that I didn't personally like the kid. Yes, he went to our rival college team, and I hate that school with a passion. But I'll never take away talent. It's just Ohio State quarterbacks always flop. And for the first time I can ever say, we have an Ohio State quarterback finally breaking that tradition. And guess what? I'm happy for him. He's made me eat every word I said about him before draft, when we debated about him all those times. And he's made me eat the words, and I'll eat crow with a smile on my face. Sometimes you got to eat crow when you open your mouth. It's just how it goes. Preferably with Red Flank's hot sauce.
That shit goes on anything, Chris,
That's what the commercial says.
Let me help you out. Here you go. Cleveland Browns, no surprise here, beat Arizona. Deshaun Watson comes back from injury. Amazingly, he can play against a shitty team, but it's time to play against Baltimore. Oh, my shoulder hurts. I can't play. I don't have good feelings about Deshaun. I think that the Browns can be a playoff team because they definitely have the defense for it. But we got to see them beat, some real teams rather than, just kind of screw around. Now they did beat the San Francisco 49ers, and they did that with P.J. Walker, okay? But they did it at home. The weather was a factor. There was injuries that were a factor in that game. I want to see them play a team that's good at full strength and come out a winner before I start saying, hey, look out for Cleveland.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm hoping Cleveland is like a team like the Lions, so and they're in the AFC, so I've always pulled for them when they've been good. And I really hope the city gets a good ending to this with Deshaun Watson there, but right now I do not have that feeling. I feel like they just pissed out all that money guaranteed to this guy. And I just hope it really don't end up in a disaster and completely set back this whole franchise again. Because the people of Cleveland, they deserve to see a damn winner. I mean, for crying out loud, Cleveland, last time they folded, they moved to Baltimore, and 2 years later, they're the fucking Super Bowl champs, and you got all the fans in Cleveland with nothing. So I'm praying for you, Cleveland guys. I'm pulling for you. I'm hoping this works out in the end, but PJ Walker, you trust.
So now you got the Indianapolis Colts. And, ever since Anthony Richardson went down, Gardner Minshew's played well the whole time. The running game is doing well. They've got, they've got themselves a team that can play decent defense. They've got a running game. They've got an experienced quarterback. I'm not saying that they can make the playoffs because I just think there's too many teams in the AFC. But, this was not a battle that they were going to lose. And then, of course, Josh McDaniels gets fired. And so Antonio Pierce is the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders haven't put up over 22 points all season long. They put up 30 in the first game for their head coach, Antonio Pierce, a former New York Giant. Now they're playing at home. They gave Aiden O'Connell a chance to actually play instead of going with Jimmy Garoppolo, and O'Connell's supposed to be the starter going forward.
Good deal.
So I don't know that this is a big turnaround because, hey, they were playing the Giants, and the Giants look like a mess right now. They traded away their best defensive player to Seattle in Leonard Williams, so I don't know what they're doing there. But I know that, we talked about the Eagles, almost letting it slip away, that Dallas was right there, and there's a lot of things, like I said, Dallas led at halftime. This was a good game. This is a good game. Not necessarily the best team's always going to win. I'm not saying Dallas is better than Philadelphia. I'm just saying Dallas could have and should have won this game against Philadelphia. And then, Buffalo, Cincinnati's got their number. Buffalo has gotten beat now technically 3 times in a row if you count the DeMar Hamlin game, because they didn't stop Cincinnati at all. And, the playoff game last year and now this one, I worry about Buffalo's offense. I'm not worried about their defense and their special teams, but they brought in Leonard Fournette to run the football, and I didn't see hide nor hair of him.
No, I don't think he plays until this week coming up.
And then when it comes to passing, you don't know if you're getting Jekyll or Hyde when it comes to Josh Allen. Some weeks he's pinpoint, on target, here we go. The whole offense is going. A lot of people are blaming Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, because, this is his second year. He has taken over for Brian Daboll, the former offensive coordinator, who's head coach of the Giants. And, they're just not it's a different flavor with him calling the plays. And some weeks things are great. And other weeks you're like, how come they're not running this play or that play? Or what's going on here?
I think it could be the OC, or they could be having locker room problems. I mean, people forgot that there was some drama between Diggs and Allen in the beginning of the year. Then they made it sound like they were all peachy and everything was good, and they came out playing good to start the season, or after the first week anyway. After the first week game, they looked way better. And now it's going back south on them. So to me, it could be numerous things. It's either the play calling, or they're just not clicking as a team because politics and issues. So it could be a number of things at this point.
Chargers are starting to put everything together. They played really well against a team that has good, special teams and defense in the New York Jets, and they're playing at home. But the offense isn't performing well.
Yeah.
It feels like the only person they've got to throw the ball to is Garrett Wilson. They've got Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb, and they've got, C.J. Uzama and Tyler Conklin at tight end, and they're not getting the ball to them.
No.
They're not getting the ball to him. Dalvin Cook is a complete waste of being on this team. He should have never signed with them. It was a luxury that they could afford, but they needed offensive line help. And, so the offensive line got Aaron Rodgers hurt. Zach Wilson, I don't know how many sacks he took last night. Got to be at least 8 sacks, where they're just attacking the offensive line. Nobody could stop them. They tried to chip them with tight ends, stop them with backs in the backfield. And Bosa and Khalil Mack and Tutulupo, they're all getting to Zach Wilson.
You know what blows my mind?
I was listening. What's interesting is I was listening today to Sports Talk Radio, and the Rams go and get Carson Wentz, okay? And the Jets The Jets have done nothing. Okay. There's talk Aaron Rodgers is going to come back this year. I'll believe it when I see it. He just wants to prove that, and if he does come back, that there are alternative medicines out there than regular doctors. And he's going to screw around and get himself hurt more. I just don't think there's any way that the Jets let him play this year.
I don't know. He was out there pregame throwing the ball again.
Well,
and he was
because he wants the spotlight. That's who he is. He's a
no, I know that. I'm just saying.
He was that way in Green Bay.
I'm not denying that. But what I'm trying to say is if you notice that one pass he threw was about 58 yards to a touchdown, and he was moving around when he threw that ball, and he looked pretty good throwing that ball. Pretty impressive after someone just coming back from that surgery so far. Now I understand he wasn't in pads and running full speed and doing what he normally would have to do in a game, but to be able to throw a pass 58 yards like that, you still have to plant your feet, put pressure. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of difference between doing that when nobody's coming at you and doing it when you're under siege because the offensive line sucks.
100%. And that's why I think he's stupid because, and I think his team's even more stupid just for that reason. Because to me is, why didn't the Jets try to trade for any O-lineman? That's my question. Because guess what? If you get some more O-linemen that are better than your O-linemen and plug them in there, now maybe Wilson can play a little bit more calmer. Maybe he can deliver balls a little bit better. Just maybe you want to be getting people killed in your backfield. But the Jets, they got a Super Bowl winning team in their eyes.
Well, so there's a quick weekend review there of the last week's games. I want to say hi to Caleb Tennyson, who's watching us now. And the next thing we're going to show here is the
100 agree with you, Ron.
What'd Ron say?
Jets are a hot mess, but it was a good preview of watching the Chargers for the Lions and be aware of how many playmakers they actually have. They are just bad coach over the season. Agree. I don't think Sunday's meeting is going to be an easy one with the Chargers. Do I think we could win? For sure. I think we'll win the game. But they can also win as long as their coach don't make stupid calls Sunday. Because they need a new coach in LA.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the AFC standings as of right now. And, just going through here, we got 7 teams that are going to make the playoffs, okay? And so you got your top 4 teams that are currently, in the lead in their divisions. Dolphins are in, Jaguars are in, Chiefs are in, Ravens are in. Then you go after that, okay? And taking a look here, according to what I was told, all of the AFC North makes the playoffs, okay? All of the AFC North makes the playoffs as of right now. Houston is on the cusp. The Chargers are on the cusp. The Jets would have been in had it not been for their loss last night. And so, just looking at this right now, Denver really isn't any better than they were last year. Vegas isn't any better than they were last year. The Chargers are worse than they were last year. The Titans are worse than they were last year, but I think they found their quarterback in Will Levis.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts are just kind of muddling along here. I think they've got an opportunity maybe to do something, but they got to start racking up some wins or they're going to be out of it. I think Houston, based on their schedule, they've still got more games against the AFC South. They're going to have some opportunities, to secure a playoff spot as we go forward. Buffalo is barely hanging in here. They're not in the playoffs right now.
No.
And that leads me to, a discussion right now about what do you think about, coaching? What do you think, Chris, about the possibility that Sean McDermott is coaching for his job in Buffalo this year?
I think that seat should be fucking smoking. If you want to ask me. I mean, for the last 4 years, Buffalo has been one of the teams predicted in preseason to go to the Super Bowl. They have done neither in the last 4 years. And mind you, this is probably the worst Buffalo team you've had in 4 years. And they're not a bad team at all. So to me, if that seat ain't smoking right now, then it just shows the Buffalo owner don't really care about winning a Super Bowl. Because you got the players, you got the talent, you got the defense, but you're losing now. So that tells you one thing. It's time for a coaching change. Now, granted, if he takes them to the playoffs and they make a run and say they make the Super Bowl, the AFC championship game,
that's a whole other story then. I'm with you.
Then it changes. But if they miss the playoffs and you keep that coach for another year, you got problems. And you might be losing some key star players at that point.
Right. Well, Ron's calling me out, so I've got to address the situation. I laughed about Detroit losing to the Baltimore Ravens. But, Ron, if you will remember, okay, we talked about it all offseason, which is why, it's not – I'm not avoiding the subject that the Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It happened in Denver. I said in the preseason Kansas City was going to lose to Denver this year. Did I not, Chris?
You did.
Okay. I said that they would lose a game to them this year. Okay.
But we also were thinking Denver was going to be a lot better, though. I will give you that.
Listen, it doesn't matter. Okay. They're in division. I like their coach. I don't have anything against Russell Wilson. The defense is supposed to be good. You're in the middle of the season. It's mid-season time. This is when you start to have some doldrums. I'm sure they were looking ahead to playing the Miami Dolphins, which they managed to win. They went to Germany, okay? And even though they lost, okay, they're still the number one seed in the AFC. These other teams are not creeping up on them. No. Buffalo took a loss last night to Cincinnati. Now, Kansas City's got a really tough schedule coming up. They still got to play Cincinnati, Buffalo, Philadelphia is next after they both are coming off a bye. And so, I think that there's a chance to let some of these other teams get back up into the possibility of getting that number one seed away from the Chiefs. But when it comes to, all the him-hawing and laughing, if you want to laugh that they lost, go right ahead. It's fine, Oh, and I know you're joking with me. It's no big deal, But I just think that we did definitely need to talk about it because we missed out on it, this last week. And, they've got 2 losses. They have the best record in the AFC. I'll tell you, the team that's breathing down their necks is a team that they have the tiebreaker with, Jacksonville. Okay. They've got the tiebreaker right now with Miami, because they played them head to head and beat them. They're going to be playing Cincinnati. I do not believe that they play Baltimore this year. I don't think they do. And Baltimore's got the lead in the division right now. And so, Baltimore would have to take quite a few losses, before, the Chiefs would have to take quite a few losses, and Baltimore would have to take some losses for them to get down to tiebreakers and who's won and lost, because the Chiefs have lost one conference game in the AFC and one conference game in the NFC. So, right now that leaves them at the top, whereas Baltimore lost to Pittsburgh. I'm trying to think. Baltimore lost to Indianapolis. So they've got 2 losses in the conference, and that gives the Chiefs the tiebreaker as of right now, in that. But, okay, so now we're going to take a look at the NFC standings, which I got to pull up here. And we get to the NFC standings. And, of course, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles are the top overall seed in the NFC right now. Detroit's got the top seed. Minnesota's starting to creep up on you. I don't think you got to worry about them because of the whole quarterback situation.
I don't know. If Dobbs keeps playing the way he's playing,
they beat Atlanta. Let's not get ahead.
I'm not going there, David. I'm not worried. I totally agree with you to a sense, but I'm not going to take away that Dobbs has balled out every week. Did you see how the Cardinals looked this week?
Yeah, I mean, if they had a team around them, they'd have had a lot more wins.
But if they had Dobbs, that game would have been way damn closer than what it was, is what I'm trying to say. But now you're putting Dobbs with some good receivers, especially if JJ comes back for you guys. Dobbs is going to have some weapons. I still don't think you win the division or come back and make the playoffs, but I'm not going to sit there and just write them off the books completely.
Well, they're in the playoffs still playing good football. I mean, they're in the playoffs right now. Okay, so you got the top 4 seeds. You got Philadelphia, followed by Detroit, followed by San Francisco, and then New Orleans. And then you've got, right after that, you've got Dallas, Seattle, and Minnesota is the 7th seed right now. Okay. Yeah. So, and that means that Minnesota right now would play Detroit in the first round of the playoffs because they're the 2 seed. Two plays 7. Because Philadelphia gets the number 1, first seed, they get the bye.
Yeah.
And so, looking at this, going through the standings, I knew the Giants were not going to be as good this year, but man, have they fallen off. Washington is about where I thought they'd be. I expected them to be a little bit better. Dallas and Philly, hey,
Yeah.
Green Bay, they've only got 3 wins because they played against a team with no quarterback this last week. If Matthew Stafford had been healthy, there's no way Green Bay beats the Rams. They just don't have enough on their team right now. They're too young a team, learning each other all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If they all become good and they learn everything, this could be a dangerous team in a couple of years.
Oh, for sure.
As long as the management of this team stays patient. Because everybody on that team is like 3 years or younger when it comes to skill positions.
And I'm glad you bring that up.
The league. You got your quarterback in Love playing his real first season. Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave. All those guys are all in, their first or second year offensively. They've been working on the defense over the last couple of years through the draft. Chicago, Matt Eberflus is getting fired. I'm calling it right now. He's not going to – he'll be a victim of Black Monday when the season is over. I think Frank Reich is going to survive, but he better do something next year in Carolina or it ain't going to work out there. Todd Bowles is probably done in Tampa. I'm not worried about McVay, and of course Gammon is in his first year with Arizona. Just looking at Ron Rivera is probably going to be fired in Washington because they're going to look to go in another direction. We talked about it, or I did last week when you were gone. Rumors swirling of Washington trading for Bill Belichick to be their head coach next year, and I mean, I don't know if he would keep Eric Bieniemy around as the offensive coordinator or bring Josh McDaniels in, do it the Patriot way. I think that'd be a good move for Washington. I think Sam Howell has talent.
I think he does too.
The defense doesn't live up to expectations on a weekly basis, and they need more weapons offensively, especially with the offensive line.
And I just want to go back to Green Bay real quick. You hit the nail on the head with patience to the management, because this previous week, their GM basically said in an interview that he's not sure if Love is the future of the Green Bay Packers. And I don't know why the hell you say that in the interview with this kid playing his first year. So patience is key in Green Bay. But that kind of worries me with the management predictions, because if he's already saying that now, that could really set back the team, if you ask me. They said the Packers have the youngest team this year in the league. You got to give these players time.
Well, I think that if they had a veteran quarterback, they'd be in playoff position right now.
Oh, for sure.
I think if they had a veteran quarterback, if they had Aaron Rodgers, they might be leading the division, but they gave him away because they were tired of his act, but there wasn't really anybody out there that I think they could have brought in.
Well,
they had to see what they had with Jordan Love.
Well, they have too much money tied up in
them. If he continues
them
to progress through the season,
then
you give him another year. But if you're just seeing the same shit week in, week out, making the same mistakes, then I think that it's going to be time, to maybe move on.
To me, that's just crazy, because you sat there with this kid for 4 years and you did this to yourself. If you think about it.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're at the point, before we preview week number 10, let's talk about mid-season awards. I'll start with Rookie of the Year offensively, C.J. Stroud, Houston Texans.
Agree. I'm going to go.
Can you give us the defensive Rookie of the Year?
Defense Rookie of the Year, BB, Brian Bench.
I could go with that.
That kid, dude, the kid's a beast from Alabama. Still the draft, and if you ask my opinion.
Okay, Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year, Dan Campbell.
Well, that's kind of being a homer. So
I'm not trying to be a homer.
Direction. No, it's okay.
I'm not trying to be.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to go in another direction. Okay, kind of sticking with the theme that we've gotten so far here, and that is, I'm going to go with DeMeco Ryans of the Houston Texans.
I can get on board with that. I wouldn't be mad at that either.
All right. How about Defensive Player of the Year?
Defensive Player of the Year. I want to say T.J. Watt.
Okay.
But I might go with Crosby, because he's putting up very similar numbers with no help pretty much all year. And that dude does not fucking stop. If you watch that Monday night game against the Lions, that motherfucker was everywhere. They played like 86 snaps of defense, and Crosby was on the field for every snap. That's incredible.
Just a couple other names to throw out there. Defensive Players of the Year. Myles Garrett, Cleveland Browns.
For sure, TJ. For sure.
And then, another player, maybe Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys.
I agree with that.
I don't necessarily have a definitive pick on this. All right, now let's go with the non-quarterback award, which is the Offensive Player of the Year. Who you got, Chris?
Offensive Player of the Year. Ooh, this is a tough one.
I'll
AJ
throw a
Brown.
couple names out.
AJ Brown.
Yep, that's who I was going to say. Okay. So you got A.J. Brown. I like Christian McCaffrey of the 49ers.
You could
And right now, MVP of the NFL, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens.
I could go with Lamar as right now. But if
I mean,
Cincinnati,
the only way that it changes is if Baltimore starts to lose, Cincinnati continues to win, then I could see Joe Burrow sneaking into that slot. Jalen Hurts has not played well this year. You know, Mahomes is always going to be in the conversation, but just looking for somebody to point at. Jackson has won the MVP before. In fact, he was the only unanimous choice several years ago.
yeah,
They're winning. They're playing well. He's not making mistakes. He's the dual threat that they paid him to be this offseason. And so, any other mid-season things you want to, awards or things you want to talk about going forward here?
I'd say I'm not going to say because it's two of them, but two candidates I believe in real life could win the Rookie of the Year award: Laporta or Gibbs.
You don't think one will take away from the other?
I think Gibbs could probably get it more than Laporta because going forward, they already said that Gibbs will get his touches moving forward with Montgomery coming back even. So I believe obviously a running back I think can make, especially with Gibbs catching and rushing the ball, could obviously beat him out. But I'm not going to take the fact that Laporta might keep balling out if we have to pass a lot in the upcoming games per se. That kid's a beast. Right now, between the yardage of Laporta and Gibbs combined, those two rookies numbers together lead the whole league in offense production.
Ron likes Crosby. He wants to say Hutchinson, but he likes Crosby for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a homer by any means. I'm just being honest.
All right, so let's take a look now at our Week 10 preview. We'll go through and make our selections and discuss the upcoming games for this week. We've got the Thursday night is about the worst game ever for a Thursday night football game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to watch, but you've got Bryce Young and the 1-7 Carolina Panthers against Tyson Bagent and the 2-7 Chicago Bears. This is like for the number 2 pick in the draft. Chicago has both the number 1 and the number 2 picks right now, going forward. And then, Arizona is right there. They've got, but Houston is winning. So, Arizona, is not going to have the kind of pick that they thought they was having when they thought they'd have 2 of the top 2 or 3. They're not because of the way Chicago and Carolina are playing.
Yep.
I like Chicago playing at home. I've seen some glimpses from this Bagent kid, but the defense of the Carolina Panthers up front, they've got a pretty strong front. Miles Sanders has been hurt. He's coming back. This will be his second week back. They need to run the football, eliminate penalties and turnovers, and Carolina will have a chance to win in Chicago. But I just think that Chicago overall right now is the better team. I think their pass rush got better with the addition of Montez Sweat. And, it feels like since Justin Fields got hurt, that the offensive coordinator has opened up the offense with Badgett as the quarterback.
About time.
So, we'll just have to see. Who do you like in the game, bud?
I'm going Chicago, but I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to fuck it up. But I'm going to roll with Chicago because it's home. And I believe their defense could be a little bit better.
Early in the morning game, the second consecutive week, we have a game coming from Frankfurt, Germany. It's the 4-5 Indianapolis Colts and Gardner Minshew at Mac Jones and the New England Patriots at 2-7. I like the Colts here to go on the road and make some noise. Philadelphia went to London last year, if I'm not mistaken. And so their head coach has experience taking a team to another country. And so he should have his team hitting on all cylinders. I think the Colts are a better team than the Patriots anyway. So I'm taking the Colts in this matchup.
Right there with you, buddy.
Cleveland Browns. Now here, this is the matchup we were supposed to have about a month ago. Deshaun Watson comes into the game and can't play because he suddenly has a mysterious shoulder injury. And you got the Cleveland Browns defense and the Cleveland Browns going to the old Browns, the Baltimore Ravens at 7-2.
Yep.
This will be a game that if Baltimore wins, I'll start really believing in them instead of having doubts. Okay?
I could agree with that.
But I tell you what, I think that if Cleveland can run the football with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, and he is a mobile quarterback, I like Cleveland to go into Baltimore. They're riding high right now in Baltimore, and they're one of those types of teams that reads their press clippings and starts to believe that they're the thing. Everybody's starting to talk about them. They got the same record as the Chiefs. Cleveland could come in and knock them down.
Yep.
Who do you like?
I'm going to roll with the Ravens. But
right.
I'm hoping for Cleveland.
This is a really fun matchup because we've been keeping an eye on the Houston Texans. The Texans have beaten Jacksonville this year. Okay. They beat the Steelers this year. Now they got to go on the road and play against Cincinnati, who looks like they're on an upswing. Last week, I picked against Houston because of the way they played the previous week. But I think it's growing pains because they're a young team. And so I expect a much better game out of Houston. I still think Cincinnati wins the game, but I think it'll be a close one.
Agreed. I would be happy to see the Texans win. That'd be sweet. No.
5-3 49ers are coming off of a bye, and hopefully they've gotten themselves healthy. Deebo Samuel is expected to play in the game. Christian McCaffrey, had that rib or oblique injury, and he was playing through it. Hopefully he's had some rest, basically 2 weeks of not playing between the bye and the week of the game. And they go on the road to play at Jacksonville, who has won, I believe, 4 straight games. And so, they're coming off of a bye. And so both teams should be at full strength and ready to face each other. I'm not sure that this is in the early window. Maybe it is. I think this is the early window game, so that'll be a little bit of a disadvantage for the 49ers. but I still think that the 49ers, when they're at full strength, is a better team than Jacksonville. The 49ers have lost 3 straight. They're going on the bye. They come back and get the victory in Jacksonville here.
Even though I picked the 49ers in Pick'ems, I'm going to go with Jacksonville here, though.
Because I feel like Jacksonville win, but I just think the 49ers are a better
team. I'm not disagreeing.
They need to rebound because
for sure.
They're starting to look like they're sliding down pretty bad.
Yeah. But I also feel like the Jags need that win just for their self. You know what I mean? They need that confidence.
This game here is right up my alley. The 5-4 New Orleans Saints, led by Derek Carr, take on Joshua Dobbs and the Minnesota Vikings, who are also 5-4. The Vikings can get closer to the Detroit Lions by winning this game. The Saints can maintain their lead in the NFC South by winning this game. I have this feeling that both defenses are about equal. It's the offenses that are suspect. Now, Dobbs played really great against Atlanta and didn't know anybody. Is knowing people and having more time going to affect the way that he plays? The Vikings are playing at home. They won on the road at Atlanta. This is a really tough one for me, but I'm going to try to make the smart pick here and say I'm going to take the Saints to win the game over Minnesota.
I'm taking the Saints.
We got the 3-5 Green Bay Packers against the 5-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. And this will be what I thought we were going to get this week between the Packers and the Rams. And that is the Steelers defense is going to dominate Green Bay. Steelers are playing at home. They had extra days to prepare because they won the game against Tennessee on Thursday night this last week. I just like Pittsburgh Steelers to win the game against Green Bay.
I'm going with the Steelers.
Moving on. We've got the Tennessee Titans at 3-5, and they're going to play against the 3-5 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa.
I'm taking Tampa.
You're immediately taking Tampa. I liked what I saw out of Will Levis. Okay.
I did too.
I liked what I saw out of Will Levis. I think that if Tennessee is going to do anything and rebound this season, they have got to start now. I'm taking the Tennessee Titans on the road against Tampa Bay.
I'm just taking Bucks because I feel like their defense could come and steal a game with Will Levis. The Bucks have a good secondary. They have probably one of the best linebacker cores in the league and a good solid D-line. I feel like they might be able to get enough pressure through the day on Will Levis to keep them uncomfortable and pull out a desperately win that they need. Because this is we talked about it with what the hell is their quarterback's name? God damn it,
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield's been playing for a job in his career all year. He started out 3-0, real hot, and then it's went south. So if he wants to continue to be a quarterback in the NFL and not be a backup or even a third-string QB at a point of his career, he needs to get stuff turned around. So I feel like Tampa could be a desperate team and ready and come in this game to get and play some of their best ball. Now I could be completely wrong, but I'm going to stick with my original pick and ride this out. If I'm wrong next week, I'll let you guys know.
This one here is going to be real interesting.
This one will be.
Because Kyler Murray, unless there's a setback in practice this week, is going to make his season debut coming off of the torn ACL against the Atlanta Falcons, and he'll be playing at home. The Falcons just lost to Josh Dobbs and the Minnesota Vikings, and Dobbs was the Cardinals quarterback, before the trading deadline. And so, if Kyler Murray, he's going to be rusty, but the Falcons, they've got Taylor Heineke coming in to be the quarterback. I think it gave Atlanta a bit of a spark. Dobbs was just an amazing story last week. Falcons are going to give the Arizona Cardinals a game. If Kyler Murray wasn't playing, I'd be immediately taking Atlanta. But with Murray playing, I have this feeling like Arizona gets the victory. Who do you like in the game, Chris?
I'm going to ride with Falcons.
6-2 Detroit Lions against the 4-4 Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego. And, the Chargers come off of a victory against the Jets and their defense on the road. Now they're playing at home, if you could say they have a home field advantage, because every time they play at home, it feels like a road game. And Detroit's fans have been traveling this year. I like Detroit to win the game. They're coming off of a bye. And so, it gives them, a little bit more opportunity to be ready to play and win. And I think they'll get a good fight out of the Chargers, but I think the Lions win the game.
Same here. I'm rolling with Detroit. Monty's back. Gibbs. People Jones make his debut. It's going to be a good game.
Here's an easy one. I just don't see any way that the New York Giants are going to go into Dallas. Dallas is not going to lay an egg. They saw how close they were to beating Philadelphia. I think it has definitely, there aren't moral victories in the NFL, but if there are, Dallas knows how close they are, and all they have to do is just continue to play strong defense, and then do some 50-50 offense, passing and running the football. Dallas should win this game with no trouble.
Hands down.
I like the Seattle Seahawks over the Washington Commanders in our next game. I think that the Commanders can get the Seahawks game. The Seahawks have looked, rattled a little bit. They've had some injuries to their running backs and their offensive line recently, and I think it's cost them an ability to win some games that they probably could have won earlier in the year. But they should rebound this week and win the game against the Commanders with help from the 12th man up there in Seattle.
Yep. I totally agree with that. This one's going to be real interesting.
Sunday Night Football, which I can't believe they didn't flex out of. You've got the New York Jets and Zach Wilson at 4-4 with their defense, playing against the 4-5 Raiders. The Raiders are playing in Vegas at home. It'll be the second game under their new head coach, Antonio Pierce. And, I want to say the Jets just got too much defense for the Raiders. But the way the Raiders lit up the scoreboard this last week under new, coaching and everything, this could be a close game.
It could be.
I want to pick the Jets, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders are able to put some offense together and they manage to win.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I'm going to roll with the Jets, but I'm not going to leave out that the Raiders pull out another W, because I think this is the coach the players really wanted to play for, if you ask me.
Well, the team that they have, they've made a big mistake. I thought they should have kept Rich Bisaccia rather than, jettisoning him and bringing in Josh McDaniels. I never liked Josh McDaniels after his experience in Denver. I joked about it on Facebook. I said, well, he's been the head coach at Denver. He's been the head coach of the Raiders. When they fire Brandon Staley this offseason, he'll be the new head coach of the Chargers. He's just going through one NFC West team at a time.
I mean, hopefully no one's stupid enough to hire Josh McDaniels as a head coach ever again. Because this is two teams he's destroyed. Not one, but two.
Monday Night Football, and this game looks a lot better than it would have looked, a couple of weeks ago. Denver is coming off of a win against the Kansas City Chiefs. And, Buffalo's coming off of a loss against the Cincinnati Bengals. And so, I think you got a couple of teams here that are both desperate for a victory. Denver goes on the road to play at Buffalo. I think Buffalo is the better team, but that Denver defense could hold them in check and give some opportunities for Russell Wilson and the offense to put up some points. And, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Denver shocked Buffalo. That'd be basically the nail in the coffin for Buffalo. Buffalo has got to win this game. It's a must-win game. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills on Monday night.
I'm taking the Buffalo Bills, and I agree. If they lose this game, this could spiral their whole season down the drain. Oh.
Well, there you have it. There's our Week 10 preview. We reviewed week number 9, and we went through our midseason awards. Do we have anything else to tell our fans out there?
Nope. I covered everything I wanted to. What about you, buddy?
Well, let me just say that you can catch us here almost every Tuesday because Chris has got to go shoot deer next Tuesday. So
I'm sorry, guys.
It might just be me with a little recap and a preview. I might do it Tuesday, might do it Wednesday. We'll see. But he's going to go shoot some deer because grocery prices are high, and he needs some deer. You better send me some deer jerky in the mail, buddy.
Honestly, if I make some jerky and it's mailable and it'll be good as long as it gets to you, I will. My dad.
Come on.
My dad just got a smoker.
Blackened. Yeah.
My dad just got a smoker, and he's already talked about if we get a deer, we gotta make some jerky. So if that's as long as I have some jerky, I'll definitely mail you a bag, buddy.
Anyway, most Tuesdays you can catch us right here on Facebook and YouTube. From 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern time to however long it takes us to do the show. We had a pretty quick one this week. Only took us an hour and 10 minutes, really.
Exactly.
And we did. I thought we talked about a whole lot more than we normally do.
Yeah, we did.
But are you still doing the clutch report on Sundays?
I have to get with them. I think she got a new job. Some things have went on. So if not, maybe I can try to. I'm thinking about maybe trying to put another show together Sunday. We'll see. If not,
catch me with Picks with David on Thursdays and Sundays. I'm not getting a whole lot of viewership, and I'm sad. I used to get comments and likes, and it said people were watching, but I'm going to try and hang in here and keep doing my Picks with David. They won't necessarily be the same as what you see here because it'll be closer to game time. I'll have more information about who I want to pick. But be sure to check us out on all of our formats. We're here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, if I'm not mistaken. Are we on Twitter now?
We're on
Instagram.
Twitter. For some reason, Fourth and Goal Sports is connected to my Instagram, but I can't. I've been trying to get our live to transfer over there, but I haven't figured out how to do that. Maybe I can try to figure it out here soon. But you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Kick, all underneath Fourth and Goal Sports. My personal Facebook as well. So,
well, thanks for everybody joining us. Like and subscribe to the video. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. It's been a good
Thank you,
show,
Chris.
David. We'll talk to you a little bit later. Later, guys. Have a good night.